Most people know Henry Ford for creating Ford Motor Company and inventing the assembly line. Some people know him for his anti-Semitic views and business dealings with Nazi Germany in the 1940s, but very few people know him for this. In 1918, Henry Ford was looking to take the $60 million in profit he was sitting on and use it instead to increase the wages of his workers and lower the cost of the cars being sold. However, two shareholders of the Ford Motor Company, one John Dodge and one Horace Dodge, the two brothers who created Dodge Motor Company, were not in favor of this idea. The Dodge brothers took their case all the way to the Michigan Supreme Court and they won, thereby tanking Henry Ford's ambitions. But if you thought that was the whole story, then listen to this. While Henry Ford was looking at lowering the cost of his cars and increasing wages for his workers, it was not out of the goodness of his heart. Remember, this is the same man who did business dealings with Adolf Hitler during World War II. The real reason behind Henry Ford looking to increase his workers' wages was far more nuanced. Hello people of the internet, I'm Nico, and I spent the last couple of days, or at this point weeks, reading through lovely texts like this, and this, and this. Let me explain to you how this 100-year-old lawsuit changed our economic system forever. First, some backstory on why the lawsuit was ever filed in the first place. So, Henry Ford had basically monopolized the automotive industry at this point. The assembly line allowed him to sell cars like they were Happy Meals, which gave him complete dominance over the market. And being a competitive businessman, he was obviously looking to protect his monopoly. But how do you go about that? How do you protect a monopoly worth billions and billions of dollars? You do it by building a completely new vertically integrated factory here along the River Rouge. This factory, when completed, was said to be the largest on Earth at the time and would do everything from processing raw materials needed for the cars to completely assembling them to be driven out when finished. But to make this factory work, it was going to need two things: a large sum of money, both for the factory itself and the workforce needed, and secondly, it would need a workforce like no other before it. To attract a workforce large enough to manage this factory, Henry Ford had to make sure that his current workers were happy with their compensation, and so he greatly increased their pay. It was also in part because he didn't want a radical union coming in and organizing his workforce, but that's a minor detail. The point is, Henry Ford needed a lot of money in order to finance this new factory and the workforce required, and he did this by not paying dividends, which for you non-business majors means that he did not pay his investors back. And obviously, the Dodge brothers were not happy about this. They successfully sued Henry Ford and Ford Motor Company, and while the money won was important, the specific ruling changed American business practices forever. The court ruled that the primary function of a business is to make money for the shareholders, and that Ford was arbitrarily withholding money that could have gone to paying larger dividends. This court case sent shockwaves through business which are still seen today. For one thing, this court case is regularly taught in law schools today and is cited as one of corporate law's core shareholder primacy decisions. And secondly, you can see this in many companies all around the world, but most clearly in oil companies. I already made a video ages ago on why gas prices rose so much since the pandemic, so I won't go through all of it here. I'll link the video below if you want to learn more about it. But the bottom line is that oil companies are no longer looking at investing into their business. Instead, they are prioritizing shareholders by pulling record profits with as little reinvestment as possible.
Does that mean you're just going to go pump everything there is to pump at Continental?
That's a great question, Alex. It's a great thing being a private company. No, it does not mean that.
Okay.
We are investing at a very prudent level, consistent with our cash flows. Just to go and invest and be producing as much as we can is not how we generate the greatest value for. We still have owners, we still have shareholders. We're interested in investing at a pace which creates the greatest amount of value.
You know, one thing that's been really interesting is that OPEC plus, Russia and Saudi Arabia, they've held strong with their production cut. They've been cutting production for the last few months by 1 million barrels a day. They're going to continue that through the end of the year. But at the same time, U.S. shale drillers haven't really been coming back. They haven't been bringing the rigs back on shale fields to boost production as much as you would have expected.
So while I'm not here to bash capitalism, it's very clear that this court case shaped the nature of business here in America. I'll leave it up for debate if it's for better or for worse, but now you can also see just how much influence the automotive industry has over our lives. If you want to know more about why exactly the gas prices have gone up since the pandemic, then I recommend this video here. If you enjoyed this video and would like to see more videos explaining how the automotive industry affects our lives, then consider subscribing. It's free and you can always change your mind later. Until next time, people of the internet, peace out.